India's defense tech is having a moment, and this could be a $100 billion opportunity. Welcome to Startup India. Here's what has happened so far. For decades, India's defense sector was tightly controlled by the government. Only state-run giants like the DRDO, HAL, BEL ran the show. Startups were not in the picture, but in 2020, the Indian government flipped that switch. It said, let's unlock private innovation in defense. Startups were now being welcomed, they were being funded, tested, and even scaled by the Indian military themselves. The government launched the Defense Acquisition Program and, more importantly, created iDEX, Innovation for Defense Excellence. iDEX, for example, gives grants of up to 1.5 crores if you're building a defense tech startup. Sometimes these grants can go up to 10 crore rupees. So what has the result been since? Today, India has over 150 defense tech startups. The startups are building systems, getting serious investor money, and some are even exporting this technology to the world. So the question is, what's fueling this takeoff? Why so much interest in defense-led startups? Well, first, it's got to do with geopolitics. There's a huge demand for this sector, the world is tense, and countries everywhere are rearming. And because of this tense situation, no one wants to rely on imported tech for everything. You don't want to create a situation where you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Sovereign capability is becoming the key buzzword. Secondly, there has been a big policy push. The Indian government earlier this year scrapped defense contracts of 400 drones which were using parts imported from foreign countries. Local sourcing is becoming more of a requirement than a request. Missiles, drones, communication systems, there's been a big push from the policy side to encourage indigenous products in the field. And finally, the biggest and the most important reason, we are now tech ready. Technology around AI, drones, edge computing, cybersecurity, satellite tech have all matured and accessible. Startups can now have access to the same technology as what was earlier available to, let's say, HAL, DRDO, etc. They may be more agile, cost-effective, and faster. So who are some of these big emerging players in this field? Let's decode that for a moment. There's ideaForge, their leading startup, and their hero products are UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, basically drones. They had a successful IPO in 2023, and that boosted a lot of confidence in the sector. Although they had a difficult first quarter in 2025 with a sharp revenue decline, they still managed to raise 130 crores from the Indian Army. The other big investors have been Infosys, Qualcomm, Celesta Capital, and more. Then there is Tonbo Imaging. Think night vision, thermal surveillance, and battlefield optics, used by the Indian Armed Forces and exported to 25 countries. In fact, it's one of the few companies where the international revenues surpass the domestic revenue. 60% of Tonbo's revenues come from exports. That's a huge signal to the industry that this has the potential to go global from India. Then there is Sagar Defense, Astrom, New Space Research Technologies, and more who are becoming big names. They're all becoming deployable products with market traction. Some are already global and some are prepping to go global. Here's a quick explainer. You'll hear the term UAV a lot in this space. It stands for Unmanned Aerial Vehicle. In simpler terms, drones that don't need pilots. But these aren't your wedding photography drones. We are talking high altitude, high endurance, camera and sensor loaded UAVs that can monitor borders, carry payloads, relay real-time intelligence, and more. This is serious tech built for combat zones and sometimes even space-level altitudes. And startups like ideaForge, New Space, and Sagar Defense are at the cutting edge of this technology. Okay, now let's take a look at how they make money. What's the revenue model of defense tech like? The simplest is a B2G model, or business to government. They sell directly to the Ministry of Defense, paramilitary, or state police forces. Next up is B2B2G model, which is business to government. These startups partner with large companies like L&T Defense or Tata Advanced or others and simply supply their components or subsystems. Then there is export and licensing. Once cleared, some startups export to approved countries directly or through licensing to foreign contractors. And finally, there are some spin-off revenues as well. For example, they will sell this tech for civil use, such as drones for agriculture, traffic control, or disaster management. Another important thing to note is that defense tech may be recession-proof to an extent. When markets go south, startups in other industries may have to pivot. But that may not be the case here. Since it's mostly selling to governments across the world, the budgets are allocated in advance, so you always have a deep projection of your growth. You have a predictable revenue and a multi-year contract that helps you scale your business. But the big question is, are VCs backing this? Because in any sector, VC interest is a signal. And the answer is yes, big time. The success of ideaForge's IPO gave the sector real credibility. VCs such as Titan Capital, Venture Catalysts, Let's Venture, and many more are actively investing in this space. We are also seeing many family offices, corporate VCs actively participating. This clearly signals that it's becoming a financially viable business category. While the industry looks like it's ready to take off in a big way, one cannot ignore the risks as well. First, the procurement cycles are long. Tenders and approvals can take 12 to 24 months, and that would mean as a startup your burn rate needs to be in control. There's also restricted access to testing and tech infrastructure. That means product validation can take time and scaling is hard without tech infrastructure. Also, even though VCs are warming up, many see it as a capital-intensive business and as an industry that lacks predictable short-term ROI. So startups either get grants of 1.5 crores or in that range, or large funding of 30 crores and more. Hardly a few in the middle. Even when it comes to talent, while we have tech talent, in defense you need aerospace engineers, material scientists, system integrators who have military level of knowledge. So more than hiring, training becomes a lot more important. There are other challenges as well, but it's interesting to see this side of a booming industry as well. So here's a closing thought. The 2010s to 2020s belonged to Fintech. Is Deeptech, and especially defense tech, the next big thing in the next decade? It's definitely at a unique inflection point because it's backed by government strategy, has a global market pull, and it forces innovation. And if we get it right, we can be global leaders in exports as well. Now, to all our audience, if you liked this show, our decoding of this subject, then do share it with your friends or someone who may like it. Subscribe to our channel or just give a thumbs up. Thank you.